Ancient Rome squeezed 1.2 million people into only 13 square kilometers. This human swarm was denser than any modern megacity on Earth today. Within the cramped Suburra district, life was cheap and survival was a rare miracle. Records show that half of all Roman children died before they reached the age of 5. This was a lethal social experiment, pushing human limits to the absolute breaking point. White marble was merely a mask for the disease and the constant fires raging below. Over 50,000 people often shared a single city block in a state of total chaos. Let us take apart this massive machine to see how it actually worked. Welcome back to Mysteries of History. Before we begin our journey to explore humanity's very first megacity, we have a brief note for you. All the illustrations and video footage you are about to see were brought to life using the most advanced artificial intelligence tools. However, do not let that vivid imagery fool you into thinking this is merely a product of imagination. Every single frame, from the vibrant walls of Pompeii to the complex engineering hidden deep underground, has been meticulously researched. We have cross-referenced everything with reliable archaeological data and trusted historical records. There are no wild fabrications here. Our sole goal is to faithfully recreate exactly what historians have discovered about the ancient world. Now, let us take apart this massive machine called Rome to see how it actually worked. Look closely at the surviving remnants of plaster in Pompeii. Movies often depict Roman streets as a stark forest of plain white marble. This vision is a misconception forged by 2,000 years of relentless wind and rain. In the 1st century, the city was actually a vibrant, loud explosion of color. Buildings were not dull, they were saturated in cinnabar red and deep ochre yellow. These walls served as the very first social media feed in human history. Archaeologists have documented over 11,000 unique graffiti messages across the ruins. People did not post online, they etched their lives directly into the stone. A citizen named Gaius left a note praising a meal at a local inn. Another individual carved a sharp complaint about a cheating merchant right near the forum. Historians have uncovered everything from haunting funeral laments to crude insults about the local wine. Even the poorest streets were layered with bold, artistic advertisements. Local bakers used massive red letters to offer bread for just 2 bronze coins. Professional sign writers whitewashed sections of walls to paint sharp political slogans for candidates. These messages formed a constant public dialogue that every citizen could read. Residents did not just walk through the city, they actively interacted with it. This visual chaos transformed every alley into a shared, living newspaper. It allowed a slave to publicly insult a senator without uttering a single word. This vibrant street life was the true heartbeat of the entire empire. But none of this would have been possible without a very strange, underlying economic deal. It is the reason why the entire city simply stopped working every day at noon. The secret was a vast network of favors that funded the world's first true leisure class. Most people imagine these 1.2 million Romans rushing to 9-to-5 jobs just to earn a living. That, however, is a modern fantasy. Ancient Rome did not function on salaries or high productivity. Instead, it functioned on a massive, intricate network of public favors. Every single morning at dawn, a strange scene unfolded in the streets. Thousands of poor citizens, known as clients, lined up outside the grand, imposing houses of the wealthy. This was the ritual of the salutatio. These people were not looking for labor or a trade. They were there simply to serve as a human audience. Their only task was to greet the rich man, their patron, and then follow him through the chaotic, crowded streets toward the forum. A politician's power was measured by the size of the crowd trailing behind him. If you had 500 people following you to a meeting, you were a god. You were paying for their presence and not for their skill. In exchange for this public show of loyalty, the patron handed out the sportula. Usually, this was a small basket of food or a handful of bronze coins. It was just enough to buy a few loaves of bread and some cheap wine for the night. This simple exchange is why the city's economy did not require everyone to work long, grueling hours. By 12 p.m., the working day in Rome was effectively over. The markets closed and the shops shuttered as people headed to the public baths. While modern workers struggle through 8-hour shifts, the average Roman had already finished earning their keep by noon. They were not producing goods, they were producing political influence. This way of paying for loyalty acted as the glue for the entire empire. It turned a massive, unemployed population into a stable, controlled force. You did not need a career when you had a powerful friend to stand behind. This strange deal allowed 1 million people to live in idleness without the city falling apart. Walk to the southern edge of the city to find Monte Testaccio. This artificial hill stands 35 meters tall. It covers a base of 20,000 square meters, but it is not made of dirt or natural rock. Every square inch of this mound consists of broken pottery. Archaeologists estimate it holds 53 million shattered pieces of amphorae. In the 1st century, these clay jars were the universal shipping containers. Massive maritime fleets brought millions of liters of olive oil to the city. Most of this liquid cargo arrived from huge plantations in Spain. Heavy shipments also crossed the Mediterranean from North Africa. The Tiber river docks were constantly crowded with these clay vessels. Once emptied, these clay jars created a massive problem for the authorities. The olive oil soaked deep into the porous clay. Within days, the residue turned rancid and smelled of rot. Washing and shipping them back was far too expensive. So Rome developed an industrial-scale way to deal with the waste. Teams of workers smashed the jars and carried the shards up the slope. They carefully layered the pieces and covered them with lime. The lime acted as a chemical shield to neutralize the foul odor. They stacked the ceramic debris in a calculated, engineered grid. This was not an accidental pile of trash. Monte Testaccio is a giant physical receipt of a global supply chain. It proves that the empire operated like a single production line. The hill shows exactly how much the city consumed to stay alive. Looking at this mound, you see the true scale of Roman logistics. Every shard represents a ship that traveled thousands of miles. This industrial waste management allowed the city to keep growing. But handling millions of clay jars was only half the battle. The real danger came from the million people themselves. Dealing with human waste required an even more ambitious engineering feat. It was a system so vast that officials inspected it by boat. Rome was not merely a city, it was a thirsty beast that never stopped drinking. Every single day, 11 massive aqueducts funneled millions of gallons of fresh water from the distant mountains. This water did not just fill drinking cups or the grand public baths. The constant overflow from every public fountain created a high-pressure stream. It was a relentless force that prevented the city from becoming a massive graveyard. Deep beneath the cobblestones lies the Cloaca Maxima, also known as the Greatest Sewer. This was the empire's digestive tract, a massive underground artery made of heavy stone. It was not merely a collection of narrow pipes. It was a vast, man-made river that stretched for miles to reach the Tiber River. Engineering on this scale had never been attempted by any other civilization. The entire system worked through the natural pull of gravity. Waste was pushed out of the neighborhoods by a constant, automated flushing system. This was history's first industrial-scale self-cleaning machine. The tunnels were so enormous that Roman officials actually rowed boats through the darkness to inspect the masonry. Early records suggest the tunnels were wide enough for 2 hay wagons to pass each other deep underground. Without this greatest sewer, 1 million people would have died from plague within a single summer. The Romans figured out how to move waste before they figured out how to build empires. It transformed a chaotic swarm of humans into a stable, healthy society. Even today, parts of this ancient stonework still carry water into the river. It remains the most vital invention for survival that the city has ever produced. But even a clean city needed one more thing to keep its people from rebelling. It was an invisible shield that made even the poorest beggar feel like a king.
You might live in a cramped, damp room in the heart of the Suburra. Your daily meal comes from a government grain handout, the bare minimum for survival. Yet, you possess a legal status that even wealthy foreign kings would envy. This is the power of civitas, Roman citizenship. In a world where life is cheap, the phrase civis Romanus sum acts as a powerful shield. It is a legal armor that travels with you everywhere. A citizen cannot be crucified or tortured by local officials. Most importantly, you hold the sacred right to appeal directly to the emperor. Imagine standing before a judge in a distant province like Syria. Without citizenship, you are nothing but property. But with those 3 words, the local law stops instantly. A governor in a place like Judea would be forced to send you to the capital in chains. You are no longer a victim, you are a representative of the state. This is why a poor baker in Rome felt superior to a powerful tribal leader in Gaul. This feeling of importance is the glue holding 1.2 million people together. The city provided a sense of belonging that was far stronger than hunger. You endure the filth because you are a part of the world's master race. This pride prevented riots and civil war from tearing the city apart. It turned a massive population of beggars into a proud, unified force.
Rome was the very first super city on Earth. Even now, in 2026, we still face their exact urban struggles. Every day we walk their stone Appian Way and inhabit their crowded apartment models. They were the first to solve the complex riddle of sustaining 1 million people. Thank you for watching Mysteries of History. Please subscribe for more.